Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar session today, Digital Transformation in Accounts Payable. We're excited to have you with us.
My name is Megan Hamner, and I am the Content Marketing Manager here at Finexio. I help articulate what we do here, which is actually incredibly simple. So before we start, just a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded, and the video link will be sent after the session with some additional materials for your reference. During the presentation, please submit any questions you have through the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll have a few minutes after the presentation to take a few questions. So here's today's agenda. As you can see, we do have a lot to get through, so I'm just going to jump right in here. And a brief word on who we are. Finexio is leading the way on simplifying accounts payables payments, and we're growing rapidly. And these are just some highlights on us, some of the verticals and customers we work with. And as I mentioned, what we do is incredibly simple. We help companies drive digital payments and simultaneously overcome a slew of efficiency problems. And today I'm discussing some of those perceived barriers to digital transformation and essentially debunking them by explaining why AP transformation is actually easy to implement when you have the right payments partner in your corner. And again, this might seem really simple, and it actually is. But we also have tangible results that support why digital transformation in accounts payable is such a boon for businesses and why Finexio is one of the fastest growing payments startups. So there's been a lot of challenges for finance leaders and for their teams lately. And what's ultimately serving as a catalyst these days is the need to work from home and the need for remote enabled processes. We all know why, and it's pretty much unavoidable at this point. Companies are having to rapidly adopt tools and methods to solve for issues that have been accelerated by COVID. And even after 2 years of this, it's still really hard for companies to push through the status quo of those before times. But as COVID is continuing to evolve into 2022, it's necessary for businesses to evolve as well. So those challenges that we're seeing, cost reduction, eliminating inefficiencies, increasing or controlling cash flow and access to working capital, having to stretch each dollar spent and doing more with less than what we're used to. Additionally, not being able to get into the office to perform daily tasks and conduct business as normal has really sped up the need for companies to invest heavily in their processes and tech. And this is what we're seeing across the board in all industries. Our team hears it every day. And some just still aren't realizing that there is unlocked potential to solve for these challenges within your accounts payable. And, really maintaining that status quo with traditional banking processes is really holding some companies back, while fintech is enabling their peers to function faster and more efficiently. And, banks are great. They've been in business for hundreds of years, but they still need to make radical changes to meet the needs of modern day business expectations, which is really the expectation of speed and visibility into payments. So this gap that existed between your traditional banks and modern business expectation has already been bridged by fintech capabilities. So if you're still using traditional banking products, you're already behind the times. And businesses are citing lots of reasons for dragging their feet on moving to electronic payments. And the simple fact is that growth-minded businesses just can't afford to delay automation any further. And I came across this statistic in a recent MyTech study that said 80% of B2B transactions are expected to be digital by 2025. And that's representing a huge shift over the next 3 years. And to us, this is saying, digital payments, they're no longer a nice to have, they're a business imperative. And again, here's more evidence from an AFP survey. The likelihood of organizations converting B2B check payments to digital payment methods. 58% of organizations surveyed reported that they're either prioritizing or they're very, very likely to convert the majority of their B2B payments to suppliers from checks to digital payment methods. So the word is getting out. Your peers are switching to electronic payment methods and they're seeing the benefits. So companies generally understand the value in digital payments, but why aren't they doing it, or why aren't more companies doing it more frequently? We have found that it usually boils down to one or more of these reasons. Time. Finance teams just do not have the time. They are overburdened with other projects, and payments automation just doesn't fall into focus. And then there's access. Many leaders feel they don't have access to the most recent technology, or the technology that would be right for them, or that once they implement it, something will be outdated, which leads to another hurdle, is the expertise. Time and time again, we meet with executives who want more digital payments, but they just don't have the knowledge or the expertise around the subject. And often that leads to companies trying to implement digital payments and they've failed, or at least not gained as large a benefit as they had projected due to that lack of expertise or resources. And finally, of course, there is the perception that automated payment solutions are costly. And while there is a cost, it's far less than what most financial leaders assume. And why is that? I think it's worth noting here that any payment solution provider you work with should essentially be your partner. When you work with banks, you're buying a payment product, a payment solution, but you're doing all the work and implementation for that solution. So you're essentially working for them. There's much greater value in having an ongoing partner that is solely dedicated to your payments, has a real stake in your success, and gives you the expertise and the resources you need to successfully launch and maintain the program. So the first barrier here, it's a very common thing. This notion that automation is such a long and complicated process. People think, oh, we have to pick our current system apart. We'll have to rebuild things, and this will be super disruptive to current workflows and processes. We just can't handle it. So let's push AP automation to the back burner and focus on other things that are less daunting. It's human nature, right? But really, modern technology solutions provided by FinTech allow you to keep many of your existing systems in place, simply optimize legacy workflows without forcing teams to ditch the tools they're familiar with. So truly integrated payment software reduces complexity, and with the right solution, all of that rich data between buyer and supplier, invoice number, payment amount, purchase order, details, all of that stuff can be easily exported from your ERP system instead of manually entering that data. And buyers should be able to upload one simple payment instruction file and have all payment options executed through that one file. It's really all about enabling you to take advantage of embedded finance through software-enabled platforms like your ERP. And so this concept of embedded finance, it's allowing companies access to all the new tech around payments, products, services, and cash management tools. And there is this misconception that the technology isn't accessible because it's too complicated, expensive, or constantly changing, when in reality, it's completely simple. We've built the technology, fintechs have, so that companies can use it and benefit from it without having to build, acquire, or maintain it themselves. And this is something you won't see through banking products or services, because most of the larger financial institutions can afford to wait on slower payment methods like checks. So they have really no motivation to create this next generation of payment efficiencies that would ultimately serve their clients better. So fintechs just move so much quicker in terms of accommodating need in the marketplace with easy, practical solutions, and that's a huge advantage of working with a fintech instead of a bank. So another barrier that's actually related to access, there's definitely a lack of education around payments and payment products. And we often talk to companies that have tried to implement digital payments in the past, and it hasn't worked for them. This can be really common, and what I'm about to say is so critical to digital transformation. If you have not considered the supplier side of the equation, you must, because without considering the suppliers, the program just won't be successful. And onboarding your suppliers, it requires significant outreach effort. Quite often it's a sales call that requires a deeper understanding of the value proposition. And we find finance teams, just through no fault of their own, don't have the skill set to handle this, or if they do, they just don't have the time. And that brings me to the service side of digital transformation, and this cannot be overlooked. It is a serious grind to get your suppliers converted, onboarded, properly serviced, and it requires time and skills that many organizations just don't have. But the right payments partner will be providing you with those resources and the expertise you need to make the program successful. And then finally, cost. There is an assumption that technology and automation is costly. But when you look at it through the lens of cost savings over time, by doing away with all of the manual work, costs related to paper, plus an increased opportunity for cash back, overall, it's a solution that pays for itself with the added benefit of your team's work time getting shifted to more strategic initiatives. And you'll hear things like, it's costing you more not to automate, but we understand it's really hard to exact the cost of not doing something, especially in more fiscally conservative companies. Change is hard, but as we've seen, a lot of business leaders are prioritizing automation because they've pinpointed certain objectives, like reducing payment costs. And it's been proven that implementing digital payments is a path to achieving objectives like those. So here's an estimation of what we typically see in most AP departments. And of course, this fluctuates a bit depending on things like your total annual AP spend and percentage on check. But we see that the financial impact of traditional AP processes is that it's detracting from the bottom line with a combination of time costs making up approximately 30%, and the costs associated with making the actual payment, like paper, like literally paper and ink, envelopes, postage, etc., are at about 70%. But with an intelligent payment solution, companies are improving their financial position through the combined benefit of these cost savings and cash back opportunities. So you're turning what was formerly a cost center into a new source of income you can use to invest back into your business. And we see that digitizing bill payments reduces payment costs by 50% or more in the first 6 months. Plus, again, you're freeing up hours of your team's valuable time each week. So again, it's a solution that ends up paying for itself with the added benefit of getting those hours back to focus on more strategic activities. So all this sounds great. You might say, okay, how does this get achieved, right? So that brings me to Finexio's offerings, and we're really proud of the payments infrastructure we've built. It's designed to address the needs of your AP world. So the things that impact you and your team every day. And ultimately, it comes down to the services. So the services around the payment itself that differentiates us as a payments partner. What you're getting is a fully managed payment operations, dedicated supplier enablement and support, strategic relationship management, data management, and security management. And these services are continuous. As long as you're with Finexio, you get the services on an ongoing basis, not just at implementation. So your AP staff has a lot on their plate with manual, repetitive tasks, leaving little to no time for growth generating activities like analyzing data, collaborating with stakeholders, and building supplier relationships. Your AP staff has to track, collect, validate tax forms, banking details for each supplier, print and mail checks, respond to supplier inquiries about the status of payments, manage banking relationships, and reconcile statements for each payment method the business uses to disperse funds. In fact, we find that most AP managers spend more time each day processing payments than on the managerial tasks they were hired to perform. And all of these inefficiencies and complexities associated with supplier payments, they grow along with a business. And as a result, many companies just need to hire more as they scale. So Finexio is eliminating the pain and the costs around these tasks through our core service offerings, a 100% fully managed payments operation consisting of the ongoing supplier onboarding and enablement, dedicated payment support from a US-based team, and fully managed payments data. So really that's our value. It's right here. It's the manual work that's removed via the services around the payments that results in a simplified, structured, and profitable AP process. Essentially, that process is here. It's identifying the best payment method for you and your supplier, enabling your suppliers through multi-channel campaigns, delivering a wide range of payment methods, and taking on all of those support activities. And ultimately, this is why most CFOs and finance leaders decide to partner with us specifically. The majority say their top priorities are time savings, efficiency, and task reprioritization. And there are a few looking to mainly drive more working capital. That's something we absolutely achieve for the companies we work with. But ultimately, our focus is on streamlining the AP process, creating a stable foundation for business resiliency and scalability. And getting started with us actually is easy. As I touched on earlier, we integrate with your ERP and you can eliminate paper on day one. Our service teams, they take all the headache out of supplier communications, onboarding, enablement. You get full access to payments information through our self-service portals, access to actionable payments data with on-demand reporting and analytics, and I could go on, but our amazing sales team can touch base with you on all of these specifics in a demo or an exploratory call. And that's about it for me today. As I said, we do have an incredible executive sales team who is happy to discuss Finexio further with you. Please reach out for a consultation or demo. Their contact info is here on the screen, and I'll include it in a follow-up email to everyone. But right now, I'm happy to take a couple of questions. So please submit any questions you have through the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Okay, and one question we do get quite frequently is around our security management. Fraud is a big topic right now, and Finexio is absolutely committed to keeping payments safe. Everyone's bank account information is collected, validated, securely stored, and our physical infrastructure is hosted and managed within Amazon's secure data centers and utilizes the Amazon Web Service technology. And they're continuously managing risk and undergoing recurring assessments to ensure compliance with industry standards. So security is a big focus at Finexio, absolutely committed to safe payments. We could do another entire webinar on this subject and plan to, in fact. But are there any additional questions I can answer for anyone today? Okay, no more questions. I do hope you enjoyed this session, and we look forward to seeing you at a future event. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.